For 60 years, Heel Sound has provided innovative, professional, quality sound for stage, studio, broadcast, and podcast. Grammy-winning artists and sound engineers worldwide trust Heel microphones for their legendary sound. To find out more about the full line of Heel microphones and products, visit heelsound.com. That's HEILSOUND.com. I'm using a Heel PR40 microphone right now. Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. Izotope is a proud sponsor of today's episode. Do you know about their new RX12? This is the way to make your audio flawless, all-in-one audio restoration. RX's 50-plus tool ecosystem is everything you need to rescue, refine, and enhance every project, blending surgical control with rapid results. Fully flexible, RX12 includes a standalone audio editing application and suite of software plugins to use in digital audio workstations. For decades, RX has pushed what's possible in audio editing and restoration, bringing out magic in every scene, song, and story. Powered by pioneering machine learning tech, it's the supporting star behind countless Oscar, Grammys, Emmys, and the winner of a Technical Academy Award. Go get this for yourself. Izotope RX12. It's out. IZOTPE.com.
I mean, we've been through deaths, marriages, divorces, childbirths, this, that, the other, financial ruin, we've never had financial success, but doing okay, doing terrible, critical acclaim, being critically maligned, we've been through a lot of stuff together, and so, it's a very easy, but also very intense relationship when I think about it,
What's happening? How is everybody doing? This is our show for, this is Hyphenate. I should say that. Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I'm your host. This is our show for Thursday, June 18th, 2026. Summertime is happening. I hope everybody's staying cool, staying hydrated, staying in the shade where you can. On today's show, I am very fortunate and very lucky to present an awesome conversation I had with Brandon Welchez. He's from the band Crocodiles, and I'm trying to catch my voice here. What is there to say about Brandon? I've known Brandon a lot of years. He's from San Diego. Our first band, Wives, played with one of his early bands, Plot to Blow Up the Eiffel Tower at a goth club during the day. I think this is maybe our second, third, fourth show. Within the first 10 shows of that band, Wives, we went down to San Diego and we played with Brandon and Chuck from the band Crocodiles now. Their current project, or their long-term project, is Crocodiles. But it's so funny when you go back so far with somebody. I remember the Plot, and they were awesome. They were such a cool band. They're always cool. Brandon and Chuck have always been super cool. We used to call Chuck the Ewan McGregor because he looked so cool. He looked like he belonged on Trainspotting. And, they're cool guys. And it was definitely, I think, Dean and I always felt we were not as cool as Brandon and Chuck are. And it's fun to see how life has just, how life goes. And it's great to catch up with Brandon and talk with him about the new Crocodiles record that's out now and the tour they have coming up. They are going to be all over Western Europe, maybe into some, Southern Europe as well. Let's go over the dates. All right, are you ready for this? Coming up, if you are in Europe or planning a trip around Europe or in any of these cities in Europe, you should take note. They're playing July 9th in Paris, France at Point Éphémère. Beautiful club. We've played that club so many times. It's right there on the river. July 9th, Paris. July 10th, Utrecht. Tivoli Redenberg, maybe that's the name of the club. Sure, we'll go with that. July 10th, Utrecht. July 11th, London, UK. The Lexington, London. Look at their trousers. July 12th, Manchester, UK. The Abbey, Manchester. I think we played there. That sounds right. There was the Deaf Club. Was that in Manchester? That was fun too. Okay, July 13th, Sheffield, UK. Sydney and Matilda. Sheffield. And July 13th in Sheffield, UK. All right, July 14th, Preston, UK. I don't know where that is, but they're playing the Ferret Preston. And July 15th, Brighton, UK, all the way down on the beach. The Hope and Ruin, of course. Everybody loves to play the Hope and Ruin in Brighton, UK. We've been there. And then see, July 17th, Saint-Gelais-Croix d'Hiver. No, that doesn't sound right. Somewhere in France. Roxy Live, Saint-Gelais-Croix. We'll go with that. That's July 17th. July 18th, Bordeaux. Everybody loves Bordeaux. Last Rodrome. Sure, in Bordeaux on July 18th. July 22nd, Zurich. Boganeuf. There we go. July 23rd, Lugano. Lugano Buskers. July 24th, Fano, Italy. Bagnilicia 3. Sounds right. July 25th, Firenze. I think that's Florence. Annabelle Presenta. July 26th, Chambray, France. Brandon gets in. He says Chuck is living in France now, so Chuck could probably pronounce all of these places and words much better than I can. But that's them. July 9th through July 26th, they will be in Europe. Go see them. They are awesome. They are a great group, and it was really fun to get to catch up with Brandon here. And then you can also go follow Brandon on his Instagram, which is, of course, Brandon Welchez. Oh, wait, no, is that not it? That's just his thing, huh? How do I find the man? Where is that? Oh, Kill Crocodiles. That's their account. There we go. You got Instagram at KILLCROCODILES. Kill Crocodiles. That is their band. And then what else is there? Their Bandcamp. crocodilesband.bandcamp.com. Album Greetings from Hell. It's out now. Go buy it. Go check it out. It's awesome. They're doing great stuff. They're playing. They're touring. They're everywhere you want to be. Go see Brandon and Crocodiles in Europe and tell them I sent you. And is there no just proper Brandon Instagram? I thought there was. Maybe I'm not finding it here. I'll keep poking around. If I find it, I'll tell you on the end of the show. Stay tuned. All right, here we go. Without much further ado, here is my conversation with Brandon from Crocodiles. Let's go. Brandon, what's happening, man? Thanks for coming on Hyphenate.
What's up, Randy? How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good. I know it's been a while. I think last time I saw you was in Mexico City, but now you're back stateside. Right?
That was 10 years ago.
10 years ago? That sounds about right. That was fun.
That was actually May of 2016. I just moved there.
Whoa, what was that fest? Did you have something? Did you set it up? Did you book it?
No, I didn't set it up. My friend Manu set it up. So there was a magazine. Okay. I think it still exists online, just not in print form. That was called Marvin Magazine in Mexico. Okay. So that was a like a music and culture magazine. My friend Manu worked for them, and he did that festival. I actually met him through that festival. We played it in 2012, and then again in 2015, I think. So when I moved there, obviously I was like an undocumented immigrant, so I needed to work kind of under the table. And so he asked for my help because I knew some international bands and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of win-win. I got to get some friends on the fest, got a little commission. It was cool,
That was cool. That was fun. Yeah, what was it like? Joe Dorowski's son played? I remember that.
Yeah,
that
he played. Yeah, you guys played. Black Lips played. I think. Didn't Television play, or maybe that was the next year?
Yeah, it was something crazy. No, there was something crazy, and then we're just like. But I remember we flew back the next day. It was one of those quick ones. We came down and turned around and came and flew back.
Yeah,
it was a quick one.
Yeah, I think maybe ESG played.
Okay, but we did a cool or at least I did a cool I don't know what it was, like a speaking engagement or something too. Was that part of it?
I think so.
Yeah, it was fun. I remember, like I talked on a panel. It was like kind of like a panel talk, and then the show.
That makes sense.
And then it was like boom, and then we were gone. It was like so fast. We went out and got some food, and then
they would always have like panels and workshops and all this kind of stuff. Yeah,
that's right. Okay, that sounds right then. Okay, cool, awesome, man. Well, yeah, well, now you're back. You're up in LA now. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been here
since
2020.
Oh my gosh, pandemic town.
Yeah.
Time flies so fast. Yeah. So, but you're originally from San Diego. I mean, I want to talk about the new record. I want to talk about all this stuff, but let's go back. Let's go. When does the record come out? Let's get all the record stuff out of the way.
It's out
on the front
it's
side.
out.
It's out now.
It came out on April 24th. So it's on streaming. We have, you can go to our Bandcamp and you can get the vinyl, here or the European version, which a label called Wild Honey put out.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's out. It's ready to go, ready to be listened
to.
All
right. There'll be links in the show notes. Everybody go buy it. And then tour. Are you on tour?
We just did a small run of shows in Nevada and California, and then we go to Europe in July.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
So Charlie has a kid now, so our touring is a little. Yeah. It's awesome. 6 years old, 6 years old, I believe. He just had his birthday, but yeah. So we tour a little bit more sporadically and for shorter amounts of time now, obviously.
Yep, I know that game. I got two. I got a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old myself, and Dean has a 10-year-old. Awesome, yeah, we would try to do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off until we got as far away as we could. But then as the kids got older, it got harder to be away longer. There was a sweet spot kind of from like 0 till 5 when they're kind of sedentary, or at least, kind of chill. And then from 5 to 10, it's you got to be there. You can't. Remote parenting is
There's
tough.
Baseball games and pottery classes and all that stuff. Yeah, you got to be there for that. I understand.
It shows. Yeah. It's a weird one. Trying to be a good dad means you got to actually be there.
It's fine too at our age. Like, I don't need to be on the road for like 3 months at a time. You know what I mean?
Right. We've done that. Put the time in.
Yeah, exactly.
But originally, I met you in San Diego, plot to blow up the Eiffel Tower, playing Xanth, the cool all ages goth club daytime matinee shows. I think that's probably the first time our paths crossed. Are you originally from San Diego? Where do you come from, and how did you first get into music?
I was born in New Jersey, but we moved. Okay. My family moved to San Diego when I was 7. I think my dad got like a work transfer or something, so we moved when I was 7. So that really feels like home. I was in San Diego from 7 to 30. So, that's my memories of New Jersey are just like my street, my karate class, my school, so.
But you're like Daniel LaRusso though. You totally did the big move from out east to out west.
Yeah, exactly. So I grew up in San Diego. That's where I, got into music really. I mean, I was into music as a little kid. My family was all into music. So, but yeah, in San Diego, that's where I kind of discovered punk music and, started going to shows and, realized that there was more to music than just MTV and the radio and all that kind of stuff,
Amazing. And skateboarding as well?
Definitely.
Skateboarding part of that? And then, did we figure this out a couple of years back that you wrote into Slap? Did you have a letter in Slap magazine?
I did. I did. I have this. Slap magazine.
I have an archive of the first, those early Slap magazines. Not the first, but I don't know what, probably years 7 till they close, or I don't know, years,
Yeah, I think I was in those early 7th grade. I remember my mom. Do you remember Glamour Shots in the mall?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So my mom did some glamour shots. Must have been for like an anniversary or something, and they had like whatever package it was, whatever they like let me take a couple. So I had like my Thrasher shirt on or whatever, and took some like silly and I like hammed it up or whatever because I was 12 years old.
Sure,
11, 12, whatever.
Yes, you do.
Hammed it up, and then I don't know what motivated me to send my photo and a letter to Slap magazine, but I did, and I just remember.
Did they publish the photo? Is that
they did?
The photo run with it too? Amazing.
Yeah, they published the photo and they published my letter.
My letter was just
it was just like random babble weirdness. Didn't make any sense, and they published it strangely. Yeah,
that's awesome. But I mean, that's huge. That was Slap was incredible. I mean, Thrasher was sort of the Bible, right? They were sort of always the ever cool one. But if you were really in the know, you were into Slap.
Yeah, there was Slap, there was Big Brother, there was all like the, the kind of second tier stuff that was a little bit wilder,
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. How
Yeah.
funny. So growing up in San Diego, skateboarding, getting into punk music. What was your first band? Did you first start playing guitar, or how did you first start performing?
So when I discovered punk, I guess, kind of like in seventh grade. I mean, I was listening a little bit to like Ramones and Operation Ivy that I'd heard in skate videos, but to me, I just kind of put that into the greater alternative rock thing. So I was still listening to, mainstream stuff like Nirvana and whatever else, but I was also listening to Ramones and Operation Ivy without realizing that was punk, So in seventh grade, this kid, I remember his name, Josh Baranke, who looked like a hippie, actually. He always had like tie-dye shirts and long hair and stuff, but he made me a tape of Sex Pistols on one side and Dead Kennedys on the other, and that just like completely changed everything for me. That was the first time I felt like I identified with something. So I got into that, kind of like a lot of my friends through skateboarding and the kind of like bad kids or whatever, were also discovering punk rock, getting into it. So we all were comparing tapes and sharing CDs and making mixes for each other and stuff like that. So pretty quickly, between 7th and 8th grade, not all of us, but a lot of us became punks, So between 8th grade, the summer between 8th and 9th grade, I started learning guitar with my best friend. He already played guitar pretty well. So he taught me power chords and stuff like that. So, as many people who get into punk are, it was like very easy motivation, kind of showed you that you could do it without needing to be an expert. So very quickly that kid and I put together a band, and within like 6 months, I think we played our first gig at like an all ages spot. So I actually played bass at that first show because we didn't have a bassist. I was like a late bloomer, so the bass was probably bigger than me. I probably couldn't reach like the lowest frets or anything like that. I remember being so scared. I remember my knees were shaking on stage. I remember I got embarrassed to sing backup vocals, all that kind of stuff. But, it started.
Amazing. What was that spot in San Diego? What was the allergist spot?
It was called Soul Kitchen.
Okay.
And I remember the whole lineup. There was like a kind of 77 style punk band from San Diego called the Spent Idols, who, we had discovered one of their tapes and they had put their number, it was obviously something they were sending to booking agents. Mm-hmm. So there was a phone number on the back. So me and my friend, they were covering stuff we had just gotten into, like Johnny Thunders and stuff like that. They were covering 77 punk, and that was like our thing at the time. So, we would call that number basically every day and say like, we have a band. Can we open for you? So finally they like relented and they let us be first on this bill. That was them. And it was a band from LA called Rebel that was headlining, who I remember like, they looked like Kiss to me at the time. And, they were like, blowing fire and breaking TVs on stage and stuff. I mean, I don't remember their music being particularly good, but it was, I was just excited to be out there seeing music and, participating in something. So that was at a place called Soul Kitchen. Did my first few shows there, and I saw actually my first like legacy band was Agent Orange. I saw there when I was 15. That was cool.
Incredible. Oh my God, how fun! That sounds awesome. It sounds so familiar. Was it around for a while into the early aughts, into the early 2000s? Soul Kitchen.
I don't remember because pretty quickly I discovered the Che Cafe and discovered like an even cooler, like even more underground offshoot of punk. So I kind of left like that wasn't a corporate club. There was a few corporate clubs. I kind of left that behind though, as I was discovering the weirder kind of side of punk and hardcore music,
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it was around for a while. It definitely was around for a few years.
Oh, okay, here we go. Soul Kitchen, El Cajon, California, 1993. Got Blink-182 playing there. There's a quick Google search. Comes up.
What year did it close? Does it say?
This is a Facebook post. Somebody just posting photos.
Oh, okay.
Seeing them there. So I don't know if I haven't.
Yeah, so my
didn't
first
uncover the
gig
whole
was
history of it just yet. Yeah, there's offshoots.
I mean, I'm sure there was probably
cool.
some pretty iconic bands played there. There wasn't that many options. So if you wanted to play an all ages gig in San Diego, there was that place, and there was Soma, as far as I know, and Soma was like a bit more corporate. So I don't know. I don't know the business end of it. Maybe Soul Kitchen, because touring bands did go and they played Soul Kitchen. So I don't know if they offered better deals because it wasn't such a corporate structure or what the deal was. But yeah,
that's cool. Oh man. So that's fun. Yeah, but I mean, San Diego is a hotbed of music and culture and so many things happening.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
was a big time. That's the whole like Justin Pearson sort of end of the street of of things happening there. Gravity Records kind of coming out of Colorado, but kind of landing in San Diego in some ways too, right? I mean, there was a whole sort of scene of dark, Spock rock, explosive punk things, kind of underground. Outside of then, you also have the Pitchfork, Rick Froberg, Rocket from the Crypt sort of stuff. Like, was that on your radar at all, or was that that was the older generation?
No, it was. I mean, it definitely was. That was a little bit later. I got into punk at about 14. At about like 17, 18, I started messing with like the 3-1G and Gravity scene and all that stuff. Discovered like Drive Like Jehu. We got really really into Antioch Arrow. That was like a big one for us. Heroin, Klikatatikatawi, stuff like that. I was actually, and obviously the Locust was huge for us.
Sure.
So started getting into that stuff. At about 17, 18, which was hugely influential on.
But it was the kind of thing. There was like one or two releases and those bands would break up, and so it was like you were kind of seeing them after the fact, or was you sort of catching it in sort of waves?
I got to see. I didn't see Antioch Arrow. I didn't see Heroin. I didn't see. I got to see a lot of their bands afterwards, like
That's sort of
Get
how
Hustle
I came across those things too. But there was like the bands before were legend. It was that thing of like, oh my god, there's members of. But looking back now is probably within 6 months to 2 years window, and you just missed them. But but being the kids that we were, it was like, oh, those guys are so cool. That is, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
But now in hindsight, you can look back and go, oh, we were just nerds. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think
they were cool. They were always cool. But,
we're the same age, so I think that we probably saw a lot of that. I mean, obviously, I saw the Locust a million times, which is great.
Sure.
The next band that meant a lot to us. I don't know how much their name got outside of San Diego, but there's a band called Run for Your Fucking Life that was like the most important band. Have you ever heard of them?
I don't know them.
They did an LP on Gloom Records, which was Nate from Devoid of Faith and Monster X and all those bands, and they were kind of like a mix of like Poison Idea and Dead and Gone, like an even darker Poison Idea or something. And the thing with them was they kind of like they brought San Diego's a small scene, and they brought these kind of like different elements of San Diego punk together. Like you had the Spock Rockers, you had the Straight Edge Kids, you had like the Street Punks, everybody going to these Run for Your Fucking Life shows because they were just that awesome. They didn't really do much touring, so I mean their record still holds up. 3-1G reissued it a few years ago, and it's still to me one of the best punk records San Diego ever made. But so I saw stuff like that, and then I was getting into like Le Shock and bands like that as well, and
sure,
just same stuff I'm sure you were hearing and getting into at the same time,
Yeah. All around there. And then where does what after that first kind of band, being a kid, then what comes next, or sort of where do you go? What brings you to plot and the post that?
Yeah. So that first band, I still played, there was this kid, Derek, the kid who taught me, the rudiments of guitar. So he and I had our first few, the band like kind of just morphed as we were discovering different things, so it went from like trying to be like a 77 kind of band or whatever when we were 14 to like being more political as we discovered like Crass Records and, Subhumans and Dirt and all that kind of stuff, and we were starting to get interested in politics. We started to try to do that kind of sound. And then that kind of morphed into like a more like crust punk kind of a thing as we were discovering that. It was kind of just, our vehicle for exploring our like teenage punk phases, and eventually the last incarnation of that band was, I guess what you would call like screamo, I mean, kind of a mix between like Orchid, but also One Foot still in like His Hero's Gone kind of world, but definitely like a kind of like screamier thing. We had our friend Andy came in and was singing because he had that kind of like Jake Filth sort of voice. And that was the first band that Chuck, that I'm in Crocodiles with and started the plot with. He joined that band. I saw him playing at Pokey's, the Mexican restaurant in San Diego. So they used to do shows. And that band of mine and his band at the time were playing. And I remember he like got on a table and he was doing like the full Pete Townsend. He was only 16. I think I was 17. He was 16. He was doing the Pete Townsend. He had like the Spock cut.
Like windmill.
Yeah. And I had never seen that kind of like confidence on a kid, and And I just thought, well, this kid is awesome. Like, I want to play with this guy. So, we knew each other a little bit from ARA meetings and seeing each other around at shows and stuff. So I just asked him. My band was like marginally more popular. So I said, hey, quit your band and join my band. So he did. He quit his band. He joined my band. And then as that band kind of fizzled out, we were getting more into like the DC stuff. We were getting to Nation of Ulysses and listening to a lot of jazz records and, kind of going back again to 77 punk and like early kind of proto hardcore stuff. And so, yeah, then we branched off and just did our own thing, and that became The Plot.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, that's, that was around that same sort of time when we, our band Wives was starting and, that sort of thing, just playing all ages spaces and anywhere you could play.
Definitely.
Sort of thing. Yeah. And so, yeah, what was the other band? There was the synth guy from Utah. I ran into him at NAMM, and he's a lawyer now. He's a music lawyer.
Synth guy from Utah.
They were a 2-piece. I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, I remember because it was like probably within the first like 3 months of our band even existing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was it Beautiful Skin? That band Beautiful Skin that did a record on GSO?
Ooh, no. I want to say it was the Lotus or Lotus. Is that what they're called? Or no, they were called something. It was Agape. Agape. That's what they were called.
Yeah. Okay, I remember.
It was like, yeah. That was, yeah. It was maybe it was a 2-piece. There was another guy in there, but it was just kind of his things. I remember we crashed at his house in Salt Lake City years later. Anyway,
crazy.
I ran into him and he's a music lawyer. It was a funny thing. Yeah, he had to catch me up. I'm like, oh, right. Yes, I do remember you.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'll see people and I know them. And I'm like, I know you from like 25 or 30 years ago, but I can't remember how, like right? I know it's their music, faces. But I don't remember. Yeah. It's just faces. And,
yeah, I just always say good to see you, even if I'm meeting somebody for the first time. It's like, hey, it's good to see you.
Oh, I've offended so many people by not remembering. They're like, no, but we partied together one night 20 years ago. And I'm I'm sorry.
Well, that's not the context to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. It happened, with like celebrities too sometimes. It's the face you recognize. You're like, but I can't tell. How do I know you? Like, oh, you're Justin Timberlake. That's how I know you. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I don't actually know you. You're just the most famous people in the world. So yeah, but yeah, those are early shows. I mean, from Plot, where did you go from there? I mean, tell me the story of Plot,
so The Plot, we started in 2001. We named the band before 9/11, but I think we played our first show right after 9/11. So like we immediately became controversial just off the name. The name didn't have anything to do with that. I mean, we got that from a Grail Marcus book. And that was called Lipstick Traces on a Cigarette. It was about kind of, let me see if I can do this justice. Cause it's like I don't want to call it a heavy book, but it's like it's kind of tracing, like if when something in culture, you go like, that's punk. That's really punk, like, like Luigi Mangione or something. You could be like, that guy's punk, even if he's not punk. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's sort of like tracing that thread of like punk attitude through political and art movements going back like 1,000 years. That's what that book was about. So there was basically like a story of this guy who lived in a flat near the Eiffel Tower when it was being constructed, maybe. I don't totally remember. Maybe not when it was being constructed, because I think it was the 50s. So anyways, the lights from the Eiffel Tower kept him up at night. So he was like, I'm just going to blow it up so I can sleep. And we thought that was really funny and cool and poetic or whatever. So we named our band after that. A very early 2000s band name, by the way.
Yeah, it's long. It's exotic. It's violent. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And you will know us by the Trail of the Dead, at the drive-in.
Oh yeah, exactly. So it was one of those names. Anyways, we started. We were kind of more on the Fugazi, Nation of Ulysses tip. As we kept going a little bit, like we were starting to be embraced a little bit more by the 3-1G scene and stuff like that. And a lot of those bands were starting to influence us more. Like we got really into Arab on Radar. And I think like a little bit of like trying to be obnoxious came in as well.
It was the early aughts. So, that was a big part of it.
Yeah, so the second album was a bit... Yeah. Yeah, and also, I mean, we were like late teenagers, early 20s. I mean, I think we just wanted to raise hell and be a bit obnoxious. So... yeah, so we started getting a bit noisier as that was going on. When we were driving around on those tours, it's not like we were listening to just bands like that. We were listening to a lot of 60s music and rap and just whatever stuff in the van. So during that time, I personally was also starting to try to learn how to, I was like really into the Kinks and stuff like that. So I was like sort of trying to learn, like, I want to be able to write songs like that as well, and so as I was going, I also started a band with my friend Andrew called The Prayers, where we were trying to make more like 60s inspired music and poppier songs and stuff like that. It was almost, I mean, at the time I didn't look at it that way. Now I look at it as like that was clearly like a learning exercise for both of us. He's still working in music as well, and he's still writing. So yeah, that was like a learning exercise. And how do we go from this kind of like noisy atonal stuff to also being able to make like catchy stuff and pop songs and stuff like that. So yeah, so then when the plot broke up, I guess Chuck and I sort of wanted to blend the two, like noisiness and melody and all that stuff. And that's where early Crocodiles started.
Cool. Yeah, and then you guys, I remember, it started like almost as a 2-piece, right? And there was a drum machine and kind of recorded stuff, and then but you've added people in and kind of had
so it's kind of like,
cast.
it might have been the same with you guys. I'm not sure if the 2-piece thing was out of necessity or not. I mean, we were definitely inspired by you guys, we saw, these guys are doing it as just two, we could too. I mean, for us, we couldn't find people to play with that were either like committed or took it seriously or weren't in a million bands or whatever. So after trying to form a few more standard 4-piece or 5-piece bands, we just said, like, fuck it, like, let's get a drum machine and we can just do this like that. Like, No Age does it. Some other bands do it. We could we could probably do it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think for us, it was definitely that thing of like, okay, well, we kicked one guy out of the band and replaced him with someone else. And like, well, what if we just did it ourselves? And Dean was playing drums or like doing fill-in drum stuff for Mika Miko. Around that time, he's like, I'm kind of learning to play drums. I want to play drums. But he definitely didn't know how to play when we started. And as those early records, kind of show, it's, pretty simple. But it sounded cool and it was fun. And I was still even, learning guitar and song, all the things I was, we're just kids, even though we'd been in a band for a couple of years, that band wasn't necessarily doing us any favors in terms of, songwriting or learning, more making kind of rackets and stopping and starting around the same time usually.
Yeah.
But it got us out of the practice space, got us out of the garage and out, I think that was the biggest thing you needed to learn how to play out. But then anyway, we didn't think we were a real band, and we kept trying to get another person in or do something else. We jammed with Dave Stone, we wrote some song, or like we need somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Like we couldn't be the only people in this band because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And then eventually it was like, I think we know enough. Let's just start with this. Even though we don't know anything, like it's probably better if it's the two of us just learning at the same time rather than relying on someone else. Cause then if it succeeds, it would be, it would go to them, or if it fails, we would just blame them. They'd get all the credit or they'd get all the blame. But if it's just the two of us, we'll get all the credit or all the blame. Like how much funnier would that be? If of course, live or die on our own terms. And so
it's just liberating. I mean, to for two people to get something off the ground is so much easier, like to get out on the road, to be able to survive on the road financially, all that stuff. It's just so much easier to get off the ground,
Absolutely.
And that's not necessarily why we did it. Again, it was kind of just necessity, but once it was going, we're like, wow, this is so much easier. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, we can eat a step up from fast food, actually. This is amazing. We can go to a Denny's,
Right. Yeah. I think, we went from shoplifting at grocery stores to eating at Subways.
Yeah. Which is amazing,
Because it's a huge step up.
And you can afford the foot long instead of the 6-inch, it's amazing.
There it is. Yeah. Or instead of shoplifting from grocery stores, we'd actually just buy lentils and rice and cook at someone's house. We'd spend the $5 versus stealing, $10 worth of food. Yeah. It was we're living pretty high on the hog. There's not going to lie. That's so it starts out as the two of you, and how long does it stay just the two of you?
So I guess we started in 2008. Yeah, we played our first show in 2008. We very quickly recorded our DIY 7-inch, put it out ourselves. Actually, you guys are instrumental in our story because we sent, so basically we did a lot of like DIY touring up the coast. I think we even did a US tour or two, with just our 7-inch, nobody knowing who we are, just playing basements, playing houses, etc. We sent the 7-inch out to a bunch of our friends. and also record labels. Obviously, nobody gave a shit from record labels, but we sent it out to a bunch of friends. I don't remember if it was you or Dean, but one of you guys put us in your year-end list in something quite big, like Spin or Fader or something like that at the end of 2008. And
cool.
like immediately, all these labels started hitting us, big labels.
No
like
shit, really? I didn't know this part of the story. I had no idea.
Oh man, we would not. I mean, you guys, we owe you a debt of gratitude for sure. For
amazing.
Sure. Yeah, like
that's cool. I remember it was a big thing for us, like as we were going, people would ask this kind of stuff. And I felt like, just because we had our foot in the door, I was always trying to, talk about the smell and talk about it. Friends band and Dean too. I think Dean and we made a point to make sure that like, oh, we're not closing the door behind us. This is not a gatekeeper kind of thing.
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
we wanted to hype up all friends as much as we could. Cause it was true. It was where we came from, and people were asking us, where do you come from? Who else is good? And we always had a lot of, oh, that's cool. I didn't know.
And
that.
then we
that's
in
amazing.
turn tried to do the same thing for the bands behind us as well. So So you guys really helped us. A bunch of labels started hitting us up. We ended up going with Fat Possum, which was incredible. And I couldn't believe, like a label like that would be interested at all in us. But anyways, they were. We put out our first record. We got some buzz or whatever. We started touring more.
Cool. Because they were like the Black Keys, right? They're on that time.
Yeah, they were the Black Keys. They were putting out a lot of like more bluesy stuff, but they got this A&R guy named Stephen Bevilacqua who signed us. He signed Waves. He signed like Smith Westerns. There, more of that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure all those bands eventually got dropped. I know we did, but whatever. It's because they also have Dinosaur Jr. and these huge bands, so obviously none of us were selling like Dinosaur Jr. or whatever. But yeah, so that being said, expanding to a 4-piece, we were touring, we kind of had some buzz. We met this, sorry, you might have a cat walk on screen in a second. Okay, never mind. He skirted the screen. So we were playing in New York. We met this dude, Marco Rapisarda from Italy, who was in this band, a really sick hardcore band called Smart Cops. So we met him. He had a label. He wanted to reissue the first 7-inch. So we just became friends with him. And he kind of convinced us like, hey, flesh it out into a real band and let me play drums. And we were like, yeah, okay, cool. And so we did that. And that was, after a few years of not having played with other musicians, that was refreshing then to play with a drummer. We got another friend named Marco from San Diego to play bass. And then we started touring with those guys. Playing actually the songs we recorded as a 2-piece, but playing it more, fleshed out as, sounded, I guess, more like a garage band or something. And then we kind of just never looked back from there. I mean, we still record by and large, just the two of us. We have done a couple albums with a full band, but we still do just the two of us, but it's easier, kind of more fun just to play with other musicians,
Sure. Yeah. And it helps kind of fill out the conceptual sort of idea of what a song should be or what it should sound like, live.
Yeah. And we quickly started kind of recording with the purpose of playing with like 4 or 5 people, so we could do it with like backing tracks or something like that, but it's just, I don't know, it's just more fun to play with 4,
Yeah, and it feels more alive. Yeah, we had a third member on stage for the like that 2010, 2011 touring cycle because we were writing with a bunch of samples and stuff. How's it been, playing with Chuck all these years? I mean, you guys, it's probably similar to me and Dean, where it's brotherhood, it's friends, it's music, it's art, it's everything. Like, how is that? Yeah,
I mean, when I really like step back and look at it, I mean, it's probably the most significant relationship I've had in my life outside of my immediate family. I mean, we've been playing music together. He was 16 and I was 17, and we're both in our mid 40s. So it's like,
it's wild,
it's been
right?
a long time.
Yeah.
And so we've been through like so many highs and lows together. I mean, we've always gotten along. Obviously we bickered a little bit, like any partnership will. I'm sure you and Dean have had your little bickering moments as well, but that being said, I mean, we've been through deaths, marriages, divorces, childbirths, this, that, the other, financial ruin, we've never had financial success, but doing okay, doing terrible, critical acclaim, being critically maligned, like we've been through a lot of stuff together, and so, it's a very easy, but also a very intense relationship when I think about it,
Yeah, and this many years into it, coming into this record that you just released, I mean, how is that? How does it find you now? How was it? Getting into the studio again and working together.
I mean, it was great. It came at the perfect time. Like my life, without going into too much detail, I had a very difficult 2025, about 2 weeks before we went into the studio, I had the rug pulled out from under me unexpectedly.
I'm
so
sorry.
it's okay. But I was like in a rough spot. I was like couch surfing with my cat. It was not easy. So, I mean, all I had on my mind was, you're going to be in London in 2 weeks with your best friend and another close friend, Jonah, recording, doing the thing you love to do with people you love. Just get through this little shitty period and you're going to be there doing something cool. And so, yeah, that couldn't have come at a better time. I mean, it was, for lack of a better term, it was basically like therapeutic to go, and do this session. And it was brief. I mean, we were only there like 10 days, but it was exactly what I needed at exactly the point I needed. It was great. It was amazing.
And where did you record in London, and why there? What was the story of?
We recorded at a place called Fuzzbrain Studios, which is an amazing but very Spartan studio. I mean, they do a lot of like the best like punk and hip hop records in London right now are being recorded at this studio, because it's just got that vibe. It's not like, there's nothing fancy about it in a cool way. There's not tons of gear, but the gear they have is cool. So I knew about it. So going backwards, I had done a record with I'm sure you're probably friends with Jonah from Fucked Up, right?
Oh yeah,
Jonah
sure.
Falco.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah. So Jonah, I had done a record with him, in 2023, maybe. That had been a positive experience. I had a solo punk record I wanted to record. So I wrote him and I was like, hey, will you produce this? It's just me. I have a bunch of demos. Will you produce it and will you play drums on it? So he said, yeah, come out to England. There's, I told him I barely have any money.
Does he live in England now? I haven't talked to him in years.
He does.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in England. He's married to an English girl. So yeah, he's been living in London for quite a while. I think like 10 years, okay. 10 plus years maybe.
Cool.
So, he told me, these are the studios I work in. These are, this is the cheaper one. This is the medium one. This is the more expensive one. He gave me an incredible bro deal to play drums and to produce it and to mix it, which was great. So I did that with him. We busted out a record I'm really proud of. It's called Psychic Pigs. We did that over like 4 days or something. And so I said, I remember going out drinking with him after that session was done to celebrate, and just going like, we have to do the next Crocodiles record together. Like, you and Chuck are going to get along incredible, and so, yeah. So, once Chuck and I had all our demos kind of assembled and ready to go for this record, I proposed that to Chuck. He trusted me. We went out and we did it. And yeah, and now they're like super close friends too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, how fun. And then who all played on the record? Did Jonah play on the record also?
Yeah, Jonah played drums and produced it. And then all three of us kind of switched off between guitars and basses and all the, there's a little bit of keys and stuff. I think Jonah probably handled all the percussion, whatever, like, shakers and maracas and stuff are on there. He's a percussionist, so I think he did all that stuff. But yeah, we all did the basses and guitars and stuff together. And it was very easy, very seamless, very fun. So it was great. It was exactly what I needed at that point in my life.
That's great. Oh, how cool. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And like you said, yeah, I mean, just putting out records, and people ask me, about records, about No Age, or what are we doing, or what's everything. And it definitely, it's tough. I mean, it's tough for everybody. I mean, I can't cry any more than anyone else can cry, but but it's hard. Everything's expensive. Everything's tough.
Everything is expensive. Yeah. I mean, I think people who don't make records, they don't understand what goes into it. The amount of time it takes to write the songs, the amount of money it takes just to get the songs down. I mean, even doing like a pretty like Spartan DIY thing is going to still cost like quite a bit of money, and
you go into it knowing there's no money really coming out of it. There's no way to sell. Yeah. You can't sell music, but hopefully you can sell tickets and play live enough.
Yeah. I mean, at this point it's a labor of love, obviously, we make a little bit of money, but we don't make enough money to survive. We both have day jobs and all that stuff, So yeah, I mean, it's a labor of love. You do it, you put money into it, knowing, you're putting money into your art. You're not going to probably make that money back, or maybe you'll break even or something. But, it's not like, I think anyone who does this motivated by money that's silly and pointless. Do this because you love art and you love music and you just have something you want to say and you want to get out there,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about music. It's something I'd be doing regardless if anybody showed up or not. And I've played to nobody, played to audiences. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's, I think it's just something that's inside of you. It's kind of coming out. It's almost therapeutic in a way. You're like, all right, I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly how I feel about it,
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your time in Mexico. When we talked about in the beginning, that festival in Mexico, but what brought you down there and how was it, how did you find living there?
So I was living in New York with my first wife. When she and I split up amicably, we're still friends. We split up. I realized, man, I can't afford to live in New York City on my own. I don't want to go from having lived in a decent apartment, with my partner to living in some punk house on the outskirts of Brooklyn with a million people that are 10 years younger than me or whatever.
Sure.
It just didn't sound fun. I had been going to Mexico a lot to play shows, and I had started making friends there and going to visit friends and stuff like that. Really fell in love with the country and with that city in general. Already spoke a little bit of Spanish. It's my dad's first language. I should be fluent, but because my mom doesn't speak it, we weren't a Spanish speaking household. So I wanted to get better at my Spanish as well. I already had a little bit of a base in that. So it just seemed like a logical, I don't know, breakups happen. You do crazy stuff.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to move to Mexico. And I went, and it was awesome. I mean, it was maybe some of the most impoverished years of my life because I couldn't really work outside of whatever income I had from the band, or I would DJ and stuff like that, or do a little bit of hustling stuff, helping with that festival. So I was really, really poor when I lived there, but it was really, really fun as well. Met some of my best friends who are still very close friends. Got to participate in some very cool music, guesting on other people's projects, and I did a couple projects when I was there as well. I have nothing bad to say. I love that country. It was amazing time. Really fun. Really, I did a lot of partying too, which,
that can happen.
Whatever.
I've heard that happens there.
Yeah. It was good.
And I know there's been kind of a cultural influx of Americans, coming in, and there's been pushback, and still to this day, obviously, the racism and horrific, conditions here in America with our immigration and or lack thereof of really understanding that. But was there an experience? Did you have any experiences like that, being an American or expat, or like you said, undocumented immigrant?
Not really.
Gringos go home?
Not really. No? Not really. I can think of one thing that ever happened once, but not really. And I think for a few reasons. I think the vast majority of my friends. Well, so I think the people that's targeted at are kind of wealthier people who are moving down there and working remote jobs and not learning Spanish and not, and kind of being insular with other American immigrants, but that wasn't my story at all.
This digital nomad sort of thing, or, you can work from anywhere sort of thing.
Yeah. And so that wasn't me, I moved there and I had a very working class existence, so I wasn't some rich American guy, lording my money over poorer people. I was living in the same apartment complexes with other working class people who were struggling just like I was. My circle of friends was by and large Mexican people. I learned Spanish, or got my Spanish much better. So I was able to conduct myself in my day-to-day life, in the shops around me, in the restaurants I went to, the bars I went to, the relationships I started to have in Spanish, so which showed an element of respect to the culture that I was living in. So I think that combination, I spoke Spanish. Most of my friends were Mexican. The friends I had who were American were also ingrained enough that they were speaking Spanish and they were living a real life there. They weren't living I'm some rich American guy life. They were living, working, struggling in Mexico like everybody else was. So I didn't really experience that. I have one friend named Grant whose Spanish is amazing. He's still living there, and he was living there probably at least 10 years before me. But, he's an American guy from Ohio, Gary, Indiana. I can't remember. He's from somewhere. And I remember he and I were walking. We were both, sorry, my voice cracked, both Spanish speakers. But, it was just he and I walking, so we were speaking English because it's our first language. and some guy in Spanish yelled at us like, "Speak Spanish," and we both responded in Spanish. We do. You know? That was the only experience I had like that. Everybody was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, but again, like, you know, like everywhere, you know, the economy is insane. And, you know, the criticism was always, you know, these Americans are coming down here and raising the rents on everybody, you know, just because they can pay more than ever, you know, just kind of just inflating.
I mean, I quite literally couldn't pay any more than anybody else. So I wasn't part of that. I mean, I remember there was a week where I existed just on rice because I was so broke when I lived there, you know, but yeah, I mean, I went there. Yeah. I mean, I also wanted to escape the United States and Trump and all that bullshit. You know, I mean, I left, you know, few months after Trump I left a few months before Trump got inaugurated. I left a few months before the election, actually. I remember election night in Mexico City. Wow. Yeah. So
wild.
Yeah, but I knew kind of like I could read the writing on the wall, you know, and I could see what was happening here. And I just like, I just want to get away from this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. What a wild. Yeah, I don't think, you know, I remember that election night, you know, I was practicing with another band and we were like, oh, great, Hillary Clinton. All right, here we go. You know, not thinking much of it. I was like, oh, of course, there's no way they're going to like this clown. And then we, you know, started looking at the phones, you know, in between songs, like, wait a second. And then as the night went on, like, you know, within about, you know, an hour, you know, like, okay, here's play another song. And then so we look at the phone again, like, oh no, wait a second. This is wait, huh? What? And it just kind of kept everyone, and we just eventually stopped playing. Like I think we all got to go home. We can't be here.
Yeah. There was like two very sad nights. I remember living in Mexico City, and election night was one. And then the night, George Michael died. That was the other really sad night. There were two very sad nights with my friends. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Cool. Well, you know, on this podcast, Hyphenate, we're talking about doing all kinds of different things. I mean, what are some of the other things you've done while playing music? Like, what are some of the other jobs you've had? Maybe talk about DJing a little bit, but what are some things you're working on now outside of this stuff? How do you make this whole creative, crazy world make sense for you?
I mean, I don't know if it makes sense, really. I mean, I feel like the older I get, the less sense everything makes. I mean, I'm just, at this point, just trying to survive and stay happy. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I mean, I've worked in service industry off and on my whole life, bartending or waiting tables or doing whatever. So I'm still doing that to make ends meet, you know, and then I'm playing in 3 bands right now. I have Crocodiles, obviously. I have the band I did with Jonah, Psychic Pigs. I have a lineup in LA. Everyone's in a zillion bands, so we don't get to play that often, which is fine. And then I have a band I'm playing drums in called The Sacred, which is a bit more like, you know, Danger House, maybe a touch of death rock kind of punk stuff.
Cool.
Which has been really fun too. I hadn't played drums in a band in like 20 years, so that's been really fun.
That's awesome. Cool. And how are you finding LA? How is it?
It's great. You know, I never really imagined myself living up here. But, you know, life just brings you to certain places. And now I have kind of, you know, I have a decent apartment. I have, you know, a good job. I have a nice circle of friends. I have a musical life, you know, so I think I'm here for a while, you know, until the wind blows me somewhere else, you know. I'm sure it will eventually.
Until the next thing happens.
You know.
Yeah, no, it was always that thing. Yeah, growing up out here in the suburbs of LA, you know, we'd always go down to San Diego. You know, we knew, you know, there was SeaWorld, there was, you know, Camperland, there was all this stuff. And then as you become a teenager, then it's about skateboarding, and it's about, oh, okay, you got to go, you know, going to trade shows or going to, you know, skate spots. And then concerts, you know, there was like, okay, there's Che Cafe. There's all these, you know, we're just always driving down to, you know, to play shows. There's always that kind of fun sort of relationship of, you know, LA to San Diego to LA. But I feel like there's nothing that makes me feel older than trying to drive to San Diego from LA. And it's like, wait, it's going to take 4 hours. Like when in my day growing up, this was a 2-hour drive. We used to drive this in an hour. They're never, you know, there's just nothing. There's no time within those 48 hours of Saturday and Sunday where that freeway isn't a parking lot. There's like,
oh no. I mean, when I go see my folks now, I take the train down.
Oh, okay.
You know, like I just, I mean, just in general, the older I get, the more frustrated I get driving. I try to stay out of, like, I don't have a car now, which is fine.
Oh, great.
You know, I probably could afford one, but I'm like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with the bus and the train and Uber, and I mean, there's something wrong with Uber, but
if you
whatever,
can if you could live
necessary-
without it, and you could have a functional life and not need to worry
Yeah.
about parking tickets, mechanics,
yeah, gas,
All right,
all that
sure,
stuff.
yeah.
It's so obnoxious.
Oh, that's
but-
cool. Do you ride a bike? Do you ride?
No,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I can ride a bike, but
Yeah.
That's
sketchy in LA.
I don't.
Anyway,
I don't have one. Yeah, and I don't. I have a really close friend, actually, an ex-crocodile in London who got hit by a bike. Luckily, survived, but like got really, really hurt, and that kind of put me off. Like, I used to ride a bike around a little bit in LA, but even then, it felt like a little sketchy. Like, drivers here do not respect bicyclists and pedestrians and stuff. I mean, just walking, I almost get hit by cars all the time. So
they're out to kill you. Yeah, I had a massive bike. I got hit by a car in 2003, and it broke my neck and had brain surgery.
Ooh,
I got a scar somewhere.
Shit, I
didn't
know that.
It looks just. I forget some scar somewhere up here. As my hairline makes its way back towards my neckline, the scars show up better. But yeah, it's gnarly. It is. I used to ride. I mean, that was a big thing for me and Dean and that band Wives. Our drummer and Dean were like bike messengers, and then they're riding around.
Mm-hmm.
And then my car finally died when I was in college, and I'd ride, from Hollywood to downtown to go to college, and then we'd ride around and go to practice, downtown rehearsal. It was a very bike forward kind of band. And then in 2003, I almost died. It was nuts. I had a neck brace on for a while, and then I stopped riding bikes really from there.
I didn't know that happened to you, man. I'm glad that
it was wild.
Recovered.
But it's crazy. Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things that, when we're talking about LA, and it's like, you can live in LA without a car, and I used to think, oh yeah, you could ride your bike everywhere. And now I'm like, you're really taking it, even motorcycles. I've had friends, I had a friend get his legs, taken off riding a motorcycle and getting.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I thought about getting a scooter or something, but I was like, that's going to be the same issue of mechanic. I mean, slightly less, but mechanics and gas and blah, blah, blah. And then if I do get in a fender bender, I'll die.
Right.
So
Yeah. You don't win. Yeah. There's e-bikes. That's you should get into an e-bike. You should be a 15-year-old kid and just pop wheelies everywhere you go on an e-bike on the sidewalk.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, the bus and the train can be sketchy sometimes, but it can also be kind of like inspiring. Like when I was living in New York City, I got a lot of inspiration, just riding the subway, and I also got a lot of time like reading and like, coming home drunk from the bar. I would do a lot of like poetry and stuff on the train. And so I don't mind public transportation. I feel like I have a decent reputation with it, and I carry pepper spray. So if anybody messes with me, I have that, you know what I mean?
That's cool. Yeah. I remember when I was riding my bike all the time, just out of college, I would take the train downtown. I worked at the Standard Hotel. I was a mini bartender. I would go change out all the mini bars and charge people $50 for a shot of whatever Patron or whatever they drink out of there, or a $14 bag of M&Ms. But they, So I would ride up to the Hollywood Highland station and take it down to 7th and Fig, and then. But I would never buy a ticket because I realized like no one was ever looking. No, at least this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and there was no one ever looking for. No one was checking tickets. But then one day I was going on downtown. I have my bike over my shoulder, and I step on and I see a cop. I'm like, oh, and I just take one step back, but the door is closed on my front wheel. And I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like trying to yank it out of there. And the cop came over and opened it and was like, all right, let me see your ticket. And I'm like, I'm not even on the thing. I was going to go get it. He's like, nah. And so he wrote me up, a violation, a ticket for not having a proper fare. I'm like, fuck.
How expensive is the ticket? Do you know?
I don't know, $40 or something. This was 25 years ago. It wasn't $100. It was under $50, I think.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, but again, I got nothing to do where, I'm playing music and riding a bike and drinking beers. So I don't have anything going on in my life really. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go fight the ticket. Like you can, you have a day, I got a thing and you're like, okay, you got a violation. So I take my bike, get on the train, but I bought a ticket that morning, and this is 3 months later to go downtown to fight the ticket. So I bought a ticket, I bought a fare to get on the thing, to get on the train. I go down there and I'm waiting. I'm like, how am I going to get out of this? What's the trick? And there was like 10 of us all there, and the bailiff or whoever comes over says, okay, are you guys, who's the subway, fare violators? And like everyone kind of raised their hand. I was like, oh, I guess it's me. I'm here. And so sitting there trying to figure it out. And then he called the first person up, and then he's asked, oh, do you have your fare, proof of fare? And they're like, oh yeah, I just didn't have it that day, but no, this is it here. And they just kind of held it up. It's like, okay, all right, dismissed. And the next person did the same thing. And I'm like, oh wait, I'm just going to hold up the one from this morning. I don't think no one's looking at it. So the same thing. He's like, okay, dude, you know, I'm just in line with what everybody else is doing. I'm just like, I just held it up. Like, okay, dismissed. I was like, oh shit. It was the best.
Yeah. I mean,
it was the best thing ever. I was like, okay, no one's really trying to like, you know, come down on you. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, like when I take the bus, obviously there's the bus driver,
Sure.
so I pay every
There's
time.
a person.
You know, I have like my Metro card or whatever.
Yeah.
So you know, I pay then. Although half the time I feel like the guy just goes like this, like just lets people on.
Whatever.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
but you know, that's cool.
It's not your business.
When I take the train, you know, I often skirt the fare if I can. And yeah, I was on the train. I think I was going. You know, I was on at the Chinatown station, and police came on, and they're like, "We need to see everybody's fare." And I thought, okay, well, here it comes. So I just took out my card expecting them to have some kind of machine to see if I used it or not. But they just looked at my card and were like, okay, yeah, you're cool. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't pay, but this is probably like an expired card with nothing on it, but great, you know?
That was all you had to do is just show, some visible, that you were trying, that you weren't, you had some awareness of what this thing was. That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless LA, you know what I mean? For all the problems we have.
Yeah, no, I love
public
this city.
transportation for whatever version of it we have, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's not all the problems you could complain about.
I wish it was a little bit more frequent at night. That's the only thing. Okay. You know, I work late, so sometimes I'm like, wow, I have to wait an hour for the bus. I'm just going to pay for an Uber because I'm too tired.
Sure. You know? And you worked and hopefully you got tipped out or you got some cash in your pocket. You can kind of justify it. Like
I'll justify it that way.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, it's wild. Awesome, man. Cool. Yeah. Well, this has been great catching up, man. I'm stoked.
You too, man.
When's the next show? What do you have coming up next?
So the next shows will be in Europe.
Okay.
I don't think we'll be in the States until like April of next year, probably, because Chuck lives in France.
Oh,
I probably should have mentioned that earlier.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so he lives in France, so we don't play, and we just do better in Europe. You know, it's just a little easier for us.
Sure,
But yeah, we're talking to our agent now about doing some shows in April of next year.
Awesome.
The fact, you know, since he has a kid, we kind of have to like plan really far in advance with his like school vacations and like when Chuck's going to be available. So yeah, this year is kind of all chopped up already for Europe stuff. But next year, I think we'll devote more time to the States.
Great.
So yeah, we're April and I think July we'll be doing stuff here.
Super cool. Well, what's the best way for people to follow the band, to follow you? Where do the plugs? Where should we? I'll put links in the show notes.
Yeah, our Instagram is at Kill Crocodiles, all one word, no underscore anything. That's the easiest place. I mean, we have a Facebook, but we don't really check that. I think we have a Twitter or X or whatever it's called, but I deleted that from my phone. We never go on that. So yeah, I would say Instagram if you want to contact us, Bandcamp if you want to follow us for like new releases and stuff like that, which I think is just crocodilesband.bandcamp, but I should probably know that by heart. But
well, there'll be a link in the show notes. Everybody can go.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, Bandcamp and Instagram would be the best way to contact us and to get our music and updates and stuff. Yeah. Instagram, we're pretty active.
Awesome. Very cool, man. Well, thanks so much. It was great talking.
Yeah. Thank you, Randy. Yep. It was great to talk to you, man.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. How cool is that? Brandon, thanks so much for coming on the Hyphenate podcast. Everybody go see Crocodiles this July 2026 in Europe. July 9th, Paris, ending July 26th in Chambray. You can find them, all the dates, at their Instagram at Kill Crocodiles, and buy their records, buy their merch on crocodilesband.bandcamp.com. There it is. You can find me on Instagram at Randy S. Randall. You can write us here at the show, hyphenate@gmail.com. I check it, probably once a month. So if I haven't gone back to you, hang tight. I'll probably check it sooner than later. You can also write me on Instagram. I'll probably check that more often than I check the Gmail. But you know how it goes. It's summer break. We're chilling. We're out by the pool. We're going to the beach. We are going to summer school. We are driving kids around to multiple summer camps every day. And, doing all the fun stuff that we're really doing. Doing laundry 14 times a day for some reason, because it's never ending. And making snack plates with cut up cheese cubes and Ritz crackers and more Cheez-Its and more dinosaur shaped chicken nuggets. That's really what my summer's looking like. All right. Hope everybody's doing well. Have fun. Get some sleep. Relax when you can and fight the rest of the time. All right. See ya on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye.
So my mom did some glamour shots.